you let them treat you that way. People are treating you badly because you let them. You've tolerated this bad behaviour or this unacceptable behaviour for so long because you didn't put boundaries in place. And until you learn to get clear on what's acceptable and what you're prepared to tolerate and put boundaries in place to support that, you will continually get walked over. So I want to give you a personal example about how this has affected me. Now, I didn't realise at the time, this affected both my personal life and my professional life. First of all, in my personal life, in really bad relationships, being treated badly and letting that keep going on for years and years and years until one day I just broke and realised that I was really, really miserable and I couldn't allow that to happen anymore. Now, what I didn't realise was that I was going to carry that behaviour into my first business when I set up in 2012 as a personal trainer. So after a couple of years, I had a studio that I was renting out. I had a couple of members of staff working for me, but I still felt like the imposter. Now, the only way that I could start to feel less of an imposter, or so I thought, was to keep over-delivering. So I overstepped all the boundaries. I've helped clients, outside of my services for free. I bought them books to help them. I overly invested in my clients' outcome. Does that make sense? So I'd given them everything that I possibly could, but because I wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to be judged for being greedy or not being good at what I was doing, and I invested in how much time they put in, I over-delivered on my boundaries. Now that bit me very, very hard on the butt, because at some point in that journey, I think it was around about 2014, 2015, I was aware then of the repercussions on myself, on my emotions and the way that I felt, by not having these boundaries. And so I started to instigate them. But because my community was so used to me being sort of a little bit soft and mushy, it didn't go down very well. And a long story short, what happened was I ended up having 2 clients who slandered me all over social media, telling everybody that I was just about the money and I wasn't interested in them and da-da-da-da-da. And then I came back from holiday one week and had 2 letters, one from each client, threatening to take me to a small claims court to reclaim a non-refundable deposit. It was the most hideous experience. And it taught me a massive, massive lesson that as a human being, you have to get clear on what you're prepared to tolerate and accept. And you need to put those boundaries in place to protect yourself so that this doesn't happen to you again. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So I've made some notes for you. And I want to get straight into it. Now, listen, some of you are going to be saying, I can't make these changes in my business now. My clients are used to me being this way and I'm going to lose them all if I do it. Or some of you might be thinking, if it's a relationship, yeah, but I love him and he's really nice some of the time. That doesn't work either. And also, there's a lot of you that can be thinking about, I don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings. But this is about you and your long-term sustainability and your emotional and mental well-being. So I've got 3 tips for you to make sure that you can start putting boundaries in place so you can train people how to treat you the way you want and expect to be treated. The first thing I want you to have a look at here is I want you to have a look at what is it in your relationships that you're tolerating and accepting that's making you unhappy. Go through all of your relationships. Go through your business relationships, your community relationships, your loving relationships, your friends, your family. Because it's going to be a theme more than likely of where you tolerate something in one area, you're going to tolerate it in the other. So the first thing I want you to do is to go through your relationships, and any relationship that doesn't score 10 out of 10 for you on a level of satisfaction, engagement and happiness, why have you marked it that way? What are you tolerating or accepting in those relationships that's making you unhappy? And I want you to write that down. The second thing I want you to have a look at is what's the belief that those actions might be being birthed from, okay? So all of our actions are birthed from a belief system. So the beliefs that we have tell us what we are prepared and not prepared to do. That comes into our boundaries and how we let other people treat us. So we're talking about how can we train people to treat us in a way that makes us feel good, feel seen, feel heard, feel validated. All of these things are really important for our mental and emotional well-being. So when you think about the beliefs that might be harbouring that, think about, is there a deep-rooted fear of rejection? Are you scared of losing love? Are you scared of judgment? Are you scared of being on your own? Is there something around fear of failure? You know, so what you might find is that if you dig down deep enough, even across the border of personal and professional life, the underlying belief might be, I just don't want to be rejected, because of all those horrible emotions that come up around that. So that's the second step. Now the third step is a little bit more complicated. It's a two-step process, and we're going to talk about this right here. What boundaries do you need, and how do we have explicit conversations? So I've broken this down into two steps for us. So let me go through the two parts. The first thing I want you to remember is, in your professional life, you do not need to justify your decision and desire to be treated better. No justification needed. Your business is being built to facilitate the life that you want, the freedom that you want, and the joy that you want. It's a relationship. It's not a transactional thing where you just take, like for a lot of you, where you just take money, right? It's about creating the life that you want. And if you are acting in a way in your business that doesn't make you feel good, that leaves you feeling drained, that leaves you under earning, there are some issues with your boundaries and the communication that you're having with self and others that you need to fix, but you do not need to justify it or validate it to anybody, because this is your life. So I made some notes here about that. And I want you to get clear on the boundaries around, how do your clients communicate with you? Like, if you find yourself on your phone in the evening when you should be with your husband, your wife, your children, and you find yourself responding to PM messages on direct messenger, like, nip that in the bud and get very clear on your communications. Can they email you? How quickly will you get back to them? Etc, etc. The second thing is payment terms. Honor your payment terms. You are not a charity, you're a business, so get clear on them and stick to them. Third thing is, like, have a contract. If you've got group programs, if you've got one-to-one coaching, get yourself a contract that tells people what you expect from them, what they can expect from you, and what happens if those things aren't met. And then the fourth thing is, and perhaps the most important thing, is that you need to get clear on who you want to work with. As your abundance mindset shifts and your boundaries become much more, we don't call them kind of like rigid, we could talk about flexible boundaries, but as you get really sure on what you're prepared to tolerate and accept and who you want to work with, right, you'll see your business start to evolve, and you're gonna start maybe working with slightly different people next year or this year than you did the year before, and that's fine, because your business will always be a sort of a mirror image of where you are at on your personal development journey. And you're going to find yourself possibly sort of shifting clients, shifting messages slightly as your internal language and belief systems, start to change. So number one, don't justify it, but get super clear on the boundaries around your time, their communication, your pricing, your payment plans, the contracts you have, and who you want to work with. And you can just instigate that like immediately, right? Because it's your life. You're creating a business to facilitate the life that you want. It's not just about your bank account. Now, what I did sort of make a note on here is that when it comes into the personal life, things can get a little bit more muddy, because with our personal life, there's emotional attachment somewhere. And we're aware that we want to make sure that we are communicating effectively so that we don't cause long-term damage to a relationship that's super important to us if there is a chance that we can save it. So what I want you to think about, there's a couple of do's and don'ts. The first thing is, do not go in with the pointy finger. We've all heard that when you point, there's three fingers pointing back at you, right? So we do not go in with the pointy finger syndrome. There's a really good book I recommend everybody reads called Leadership and Self-Deception that talks about when we go into an environment like that, we need to kind of take off our goggles. We need to take off the Louise goggles and get out of the Louise box, because we're bringing in all of our experiences and memories and beliefs and morals and values into that. And then you've got to remember, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. So the person you need to have the conversation with has a very different perception of the world, and that's the first thing you need to do. So you don't go with the pointy finger, you go in looking at this event from a higher state of being, so you can see everybody's concerns, I guess. The second thing is about how you have explicit communication. Women are really, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we tend to kind of drop hints, and they don't always work. We just need to be explicit. So what I'd suggest you do is say something like, you know what, when this thing happened, or when this thing happens, I notice that I feel this way. I feel blah, I feel blah, I feel blah. Right? And then so now you've told somebody that you see the event, you've not blamed it on them. I see this thing that happened, and I witnessed that when this thing happens, I feel this way. And the third thing is that you ask, is there anything that I have done, or is there something that I'm not aware of, or that, you know, something that I need to know that's kind of caused this discrepancy? Because I'd really love to have a chat about that so we can sort this out, so that, you know, we can feel better, or I can feel better. So you've gone in there, you've told somebody how you feel, but you haven't blamed them. You've asked if there's something that you've done wrong, or that you need to know about, or that, you know, you're not aware of, so that you can have this conversation around it. And then just see what comes off of that. But I would say in that respect is that, you know, you can't go, if this is not about saying to somebody, I feel this way, you must believe me, you must honour me. It's about having that communication where this isn't about a right and a wrong, it's just how do we move away from where we're at right now. And the fourth and final thing that I want to deliver on this for you is that some people just need to go. Sometimes you just need to let people go with love and light, or you just need to cut them off and just say bye-bye now, because maybe you've given them chance after chance after chance after chance for years and years and years and years and years, and you just can't do it anymore. Just let them go, because it's about honouring yourself. Honour yourself before you start honouring everybody else, right? And trust that it'll be the right thing. You don't have to be nasty about it. You can just let them go and know that you're doing it for your own highest good, for your own higher self, your own mental, emotional and spiritual health and happiness. So don't feel bad about that. So if you've liked this very short episode, please do remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel below. Hit the bell next door so you get notifications, because I'm doing 3 new videos a week for you, covering everything from money mindset, high performance coaching, so that you can live your life of purpose, passion and profit.